for the February 2025, so welcome to elected members, staff and our public forum. Can we please begin with the opening karakia, councillors? Mati whakapono, mati tumanako, mati tatiro, mati whakarongo, mati mahitahi, mati manawanui, mati araa, tai I tātou. Right, the apologies this morning. We have an apology from Councillor Tamaki. She's at Matatini, and Councillor Johnson, I believe, is going to be online at some point. So I'll move to accept the apology of Councillor Tamaki, seconded Councillor Williams. All in favour? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the public forum. I'd like to welcome, on behalf of Meadow Sports Club, Merv, you're the one that's presented. Come up to the microphone and Sandra will help you out there.
Morning, everybody. Just looking at these Island Reserve concept designs. Apologies on behalf of the sports club. I know you've had consultations and we have been a bit slack getting things in process on our side, but we've just picked up a few things that we'd like to bring up. I mean, the concepts are great for the town. We'd just like to possibly offer another concept with possibly utilisation of what's already there. We've got a sports club that's a facility that's, used probably 6 months of the year, and it's a facility that could be expanded on, and that is just another option that could be looked at incorporating into these concept plans. We've got a grandstand that could also be utilised. I mean, we're incorporating netball here. Another option would be to upgrade those existing facilities rather than seeing them possibly disappear. It's hard to get something back once you've got rid of it. So basically, I know that consultation has taken place, but there could possibly be a couple of more options that we could look at. So that is pretty much what we wanted to say here today.
Thank you, Brett. Any questions?
Just thinking about the rugby ground in particular, and that oval. The oval we used to have actually when I was young. The rugby ground used to be quite muddy when I was young. It's now, I've seen the last grounds I've seen, the field's in pretty well, beautiful pitch. Up there with some of the stadium pitches. To be fair, this concept plan to me has to move all that. But how long did it take you to get that rugby field settled down? And what's that going to cost the community?
So originally, the Island Reserve, it was just a basic turf. When it rains, the field just turned to bog. Everything's turned to bog. So we've improved that facility by making it a sand-based field. It does require upkeep, but it also produces a good turf. But the upkeep of that turf, your costs, I'd be estimating per year to keep a ground in that good a condition would roughly, I mean, it may have gone up now, but it's roughly about $15,000 a year for a turf of that quality, and that's what you need for playing certain types of sports. Gone are the days of playing in your knees and mud. So that's just another aspect of that. That's how good that facility is there.
With the grandstand, how often do you guys utilise it? Like, I understand you utilise it quite a bit for women's rugby.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So all visiting teams use that facility because our facilities at the sports club, we can only cater for our own teams. So all the visiting teams use, and we've managed to utilise okay, with women's sport now being a major part of growing sport, you've got to have facilities for them as well. We've managed to get away with it, by partitioning, certain parts of that grandstand. And then it's not just rugby, there's touch as well. Obviously when we have shows, truck shows, motor shows, those facilities, are getting used.
Cool. And with the concept plans, I'm pretty sure option 2, the parking is taken away from inside the Island Reserve. And like our culture in town, and I know when I come and watch a game, I actually like to drive in and drive up to the field and sit on the back of my ute. How do you think the community would feel if they couldn't do that anymore?
Yeah, it's a tough, yeah, I can see both sides, but I suppose accessibility to being right on the sideline and easy access. I mean, for elderly as well. I mean, I know you get a lot of our old timers that like to come and park right up to the sideline so they can actually see the game. And I suppose with one of those concepts that would be taken away. So, I mean, yeah, there's a buy-in and a buy-out, obviously, with what that concept does.
Thanks.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Want to move? Yeah, Graham would probably remember many, many years ago, Graham, there was a proposal to combine a lot of the sports clubs onto the island, including bowls and tennis and whatever. This is almost bringing up something that's been raised in the past, but in a slightly different way. But Merv, can you just clarify something for you? You talked about the netball courts. Were you talking about leaving them where they are and doing them up, or were you talking about shifting them around to the island? Can you just clarify that?
So on your plan, the netball courts are here.
Yes.
That's fine. That's where the bond is.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, sorry, I misunderstood.
Yep, no, definitely. The idea is to have all sports there. But what I just wanted to emphasise that we could probably utilise the sports club and look at expansion of the sports club or the facility that's there, the grandstand.
And when you talk about utilising the club, you're talking about people being able to use it for private occasions, public events, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it costs a lot of money to run a sports club on your own now. And, you know, we're talking about having multi-sports and all sports. There's possibly, maybe the sports club best the facilities back to the council. And, you know, it gets utilised in the way that can help develop this area.
Oh, that's very good. Thank you.
No further questions?
Can I read?
Yeah. Graham, come up to the mic, Graham, so we live stream. Thank you.
I didn't ever think I'd be back here again, but I think the plan is fine. The option B is fine with the removal of the grandstand. And I think the sports club facility should be extended. There's no point in having another one set up that's changing rooms and things like that. That should be added. The sports club should vest the building back to the council, and I think they would be prepared to do that. It costs around about $1,100 a week to maintain that building, which is underutilised. So whatever sport is being played on the island, their home should be in one building. And the cost is then shared over a lot more. You have one facility, you got one set of costs, You've got squash, netball, rugby, touch, and you've got, and the facility is owned by one entity, and it's not the sports club. So, my suggestion is that you look at doing at that proposal. The building, the building currently is in good condition. But the other sports that use the island would need changing and toilet facilities, and that could be incorporated into the sports club building.
Thanks, Graham. Look, thank you for both coming. It's unfortunate that you didn't put a submission in, and we're coming kind of 11th hour to try and remedy things, but that's fine. We can't make a decision here as council. We'll discuss this later on. What we can do, though, is, as you'll see in our first agenda item today, is about accepting the feedback from the hearings committee, but we can make an amendment to that. So at this stage, what we can do is give feedback to the hearings committee, which involved council, community board and Mana Whenua. So, yeah, thank you. Anything to add to that, Joan? No. So, yeah, appreciate you coming along here. It's a small town. I don't think we're so bullish that we'd make a decision without actually listening to what a lot of the community says. So, appreciate you coming. Are there any late agenda items in today's meeting? No, moving on then. Any councillors need to declare a conflict of interest in any of the today's agenda? Okay. Okay. Confirmation of minutes on the meeting of 10th of December 2024. Is there any items that need to be discussed in those minutes? Councillor Jeffries?
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, there were just a couple of things. On page 12 of the agenda, the very last paragraph mentions an investigation into a water treatment plant. I think that should be a wastewater plant. Yep.
Good spot.
And the other question was, it was really just a comment, but on page 18, in the paragraph before the resolution, which is boxed there, there's a mention of Carfia's lack of a local policeman, and as I understand it, there's still no progress on that, which is a bit of a worry. I understand that the previous advertised position, there were no takers, and they're having to re-advertise. So who knows how long that's going to take to fill that role. But if you hear of anything, we'd be very interested to be brought up to date on that. And that was really it. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. So do we have a mover and a seconder for the minutes dated 10th of December?
Yeah.
I'll move Councillor Jeffries, second Councillor Dowell. All in favour? Carried. We have the receipt of the minutes of Ōtorohanga Community Board on the 2nd of December and the Carfia Community Board on the 5th of December. I'll move that those minutes be received. Second Councillor Prendergast. All in favour? Thanks, carried. On to the Merrill verbal report. Been up to. Since being back for the year, I've attended two pōwhiri for new CDs in the Waikato. There's Manaia to Te Waiata at Matamapiako and Craig Hobbs at Waikato District. Also a member of the Mixed Use Rural Suppliers and Consumers Group. I've attended two huri's online. So what that is about is working with Te Mate Arawai to ensuring that the users on different water schemes It's a lot easier for them to understand, a lot easier for them to self-manage. An example of the amendments that have been made to drinking water standards with rural suppliers or drinking water suppliers. Originally, it was farms were kind of part of the category, and now any supply of less than 25 people is no longer a drinking water supplier. So there's small amendments happening all the time, and there's also a lot of talk earlier on about point of use filtration, and then who's going to do the monitoring and the testing of those waters. The testing is going to be done before it gets to the point of use, and then users will be notified to say, hey, there's a problem or whatever it may be. So they're just working through all those things to make it easier with the change in Te Mate Arawai's regulations. I've had a meeting with the new sergeant in town who's paid a nun. He's pretty enthusiastic about getting things done around the place, and I think he'll be a great asset to our community. We hosted the Chief Executive and the Chair of Local Government New Zealand on the 10th, and then we undertook the 6-month performance review of the Chief Executive. Attended Council Workshop on the 11th. I've got a young person for Tuia this year, and her name is Paige Coffin Bell. So she has got family across both districts, our districts being Ōtorohanga and ourselves. We had a rural water scheme meeting here on the 14th. Went down to Wellington with Tanya and supported Mariapoto, Tainui and Rokawa at Parliament for the second and third hearings of the Rakau settlement. The fellow mayors, John and Susan. Hosted Te Ōtorohanga Flavel, who came here. They're cycling down to, they'll be Matatini now, they're cycling down through the country for Smedial Bear, so about cervical cancer, but to really promote the testing of women around the country. And we hosted the Waikato Mayoral Forum here on the 17th, which was really good. So that was the mayors and cities from throughout Waikato. Council chambers. Any questions on it? If nothing, I'd like to move that be received. Second of Councillor Dow, all in favour? Thank you. Moving on to item 209, the draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy and Management Plan, recommendations from Ōtorohanga District Council Hearings Panel following the consideration of feedback and submissions. Welcome, Ross.
Thank you, Your Worship. Kia ora, councillors. This has been a 15-month journey to get to this point. And certainly the feedback that I've heard over the last month or so, together with the consideration or submissions by the hearings panel, and again, the information that was shared during the public forum earlier this morning suggests to me we're not quite there in terms of an outcome that's going to best serve the community. So my report and the unconfirmed minutes of the hearings panel, I guess, sit there as a record of where we've got to in terms of the process, and the recommendations from the hearings panel sit there as they were advanced by the panel. But with your support, Your Worship, I'm suggesting that given where we're at and what's been shared more recently in the process, that the recommendations in my report need to be reflected on and reviewed, and I'm suggesting a modified set of recommendations that perhaps if I can share those with council and then open those up for questions and discussion.
Please do.
So most of the content of the recommendations in my report remain unchanged, but what I'll do is I'll read them out in their new form in their entirety, and so members can follow what's changed and what's not. So they're having considered the recommendations from the hearings panel, and the subsequent matters raised by the Ōtorohanga Sports Club at this public forum, the Ōtorohanga District Council, 1, confirms the following changes made to the draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy, that the Ōtorohanga Village Green be included in the strategy, that specific cultural and heritage items / places such as the Memorial Park Gardens, Village Green, carvings and pool and the historic waka at Ōtorohanga Museum be reflected as icons on the relevant maps and strategy. So they are two elements that have come directly from the panel and are not changing. Recommendation 2 confirms that further discussions be held with the relevant clubs and organisations to A, optimise the future configuration of the Ōtorohanga domain, including the use of the Ōtorohanga netball courts area, and B, optimise the future configuration of Island Reserve, having regard to the future grandstand and noting the establishment of new courts for Ōtorohanga netball as a priority action. That latter part was a clear message or recommendation from the hearings panel. And then 3 and 4 remain unchanged, but I'll read them as they are presented. Confirms that an updated draft Ōtorohanga Reserves Strategy and Management Plan reflecting the matters covered by 1 and 2 be referred to Council for adoption, and 4 notes that work on naming protocols is underway and that the naming of reserves in the strategy is aligned with the work undertaken as part of the development of the Ōtorohanga Town Concept Plan.
Thank you, Ross. Is there any questions from councillors on the amendments to the initial staff recommendation?
No, I think that's hit the nail on the head, Ross, like taking out the option 2. I just picked up on a point Tanya said. Did we not have to take this back to the hearing committee?
Yes, so Ross will advise us on process. I'm trying to get the resolution right for Kathy. Yes, so, and it's changed since you sent it to me.
Yeah,
So,
sorry
yeah.
about that.
No, that's okay. It's absolutely fine, but we just need to, it's quite a long one.
Yes.
And we just need to make sure that it's absolutely correct for the minutes. So once we've nailed it, can you please email it to Kathy?
So are we assuming, Tanya, that what Ross has just read out is the change or amendments to the initial?
So in terms of, through you, Worship, in terms of process, what needs to happen in terms of the hearings panel now?
Yeah, so through your worship, ultimately it's council's decision to adopt the strategy and the management plan, but you, from a process point of view, may think it's prudent to circle back to the hearings panel who left one element of what's in recommendation 2 sitting on the table in terms of Ōtorohanga domain and the future of the netball court. So it would seem prudent to me that the council would refer, as a matter of, I guess, process, whatever comes out of the next stage back to the hearings panel to complete their information loop and look to a recommendation from the panel.
Thanks, Ross. I'll just hand over to Katrina.
Can I just ask a question? It's just for clarity around further discussions with the stakeholders and sports clubs, because we've actually got 2 representatives here listening, and I know we've got netball online listening too. What sort of time frame and how do you think that's going to work? Just so that everyone's clear. I know I'm putting you on the spot, sorry.
Well, I mean, my sense, and on the sense I'm getting from other parties, is that because netball have a pressing issue, it makes sense to me that we just get on with this and move quickly, well, as quickly as we prudently can, given.
Yeah, with discussions like with them all
Absolutely.
around the table, so
Yes.
we can nut out a plan that actually works for everyone.
But it will rely on those clubs and organisations ensuring they have the right people
People around the table.
involved in the process. I'd understood we had the right representatives from those organisations right through the process, but it sounds like that maybe not have been the case.
Cool. Okay, thanks.
Yes, so thanks, Ross, in light of the fact that everybody is listening, yeah, it's ready for heads to get together now, and that they'll give us a timeframe without actually giving a definitive timeframe right now. And back to your original point, I believe it is prudent to follow the correct process here, and we'll go back to the hearings committee. So on that,
I'm Christopher here, that's because I didn't, so I was doing on the committee and I thought I had to be completely open-minded, which I'm still open-minded, but now that are we allowed to be involved in the process? Well, I thought originally it went out to community decided, and then we belong to the students and council. But I already love to do it this way because we're not clear, are we? You know, we've already got you've already got something in your mind, you know, a purpose, whatever. So, but now that it's kind of come to this, we're sort of more aligned, we're involved in that being involved.
Yeah. Really, Richard. I mean, you're entitled to have views and opinions and thoughts on anything that comes to council. I guess it's the perception around being so dogged in your thoughts that you're excluding other people's views and opinions and ideas. So, yeah, being part of the process and that, yeah, like really, if you heal them and say no. Process. So yeah, now I guess once we get to the point where you adopt the reserve management strategy and plans, we're into the implementation phase. So I'm not sure how Ross and Sandra intend to pull working groups together or get, you know. On that now, or maybe they haven't thought about that yet.
Sorry, haven't really thought about that yet.
So sorry, me again. So just following on from what Rodney said, so for me, we as elected members are allowed to be in those get-togethers with, like, if there's a steering committee of the sports clubs. I think that's probably where Rodney was going with that question. Like, so we're around the table.
Further refining
so we're
the
around the table
configuration
too.
of
Yeah.
the plans.
We've had elected members part of the working group through the process, so I see this as probably just a variation on that.
Worship, yes, I was just curious about the presentation from Irv and Graham Wilshaw this morning. Graham mentioned in particular, or suggested, that perhaps at some stage the sports club facility could be vested in the council. Is that part of what? Separate exercise? Yep.
But can I add to your worship that I heard Graham refer to an extension of that facility as a way of providing for all users on those,
yes,
on the reserve. So in my mind, that element is now part of this
correct. Yeah.
process.
Thank you. The amendments that are mentioned by Ross.
Can everyone really talk into their microphones? I've had 2 messages saying that people online can't hear us and it's dropping in and out.
Okay. Any particular? Can they hear me? That's not good. Look, I'm the chair of the meeting, people. Okay, so we have, sorry, Ross.
So just in light of the conversation earlier around the hearings panel, I'll just insert into the recommendation details that I sent Kathy referencing it going back to the hearings panel for their consideration prior to being recommended to council for adoption. So it's just an adjustment to three, recommendation
Thank
three.
you.
So got that covered.
Awesome. Thanks, Ross. So I have the recommendation with the amendments as mentioned. So I'd like to move that the staff recommendation is adopted. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hughes. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Sandra. Back to work again.
I think it's that microphone down there. Whoever's presenting needs to actually be closer to it.
Right, moving on to item 210. Joint submission on local water Sunwell bill. Tanya.
Okay, morena koutou. So we are seeking your endorsement for, or approval for a retrospective approval for the joint submission that the Waikato Waterdown Well councils have put together in response to the Local Government Water Services Bill number 3. So there's quite a few attachments to this, including an overview of that bill, which is outlined and summarised in 4.2 on page 48. And also in the discussion, just highlight some of the points that we've made in the joint submission. Mark has been involved in providing feedback into the early draft of the submission, and those suggestions were incorporated into the final submission. So between us, we felt that this, what was conveyed through this process reflected fairly on our position. And I just want to acknowledge Anne for helping us pull this together and getting the report on the agenda in a timely manner. So happy to take any questions, and we've got Mark and me, and Sinead from Waikato Waterdown Well is available if you ask real tricky questions.
Or is open to questions, Councillor Jeffries?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, thanks, Tanya. It's a very interesting report, and just a couple of quick questions. On page 52, about halfway down the page, there's a subheading, Water Organisations will not, and it's just the wording in the second bullet point. Just a point of clarification. When we talk about consumers shifting from a property-based rate levied by council to a water charge assessed, is that just a continuation of what we currently do now in terms of a uniform rate, or are we talking about introducing, for the likes of Carfair, for example, water meter charges? Do you know what the...
Good question. I'm looking at Mark and Graham to see whether they know.
No, I can talk to that. So if I refer you down to probably, I think it's the appendix. It talks quite well about the options for charging. Just bear with me for a second. But it's very similar to how it's done at the moment, whether it be a uniform rate or a volumetric rate.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that when the meters were introduced to Carfair, there was an understanding, if you like, that they weren't being introduced to introduce metered water charges. So if there's going to be a change, I think we just need to flag that early.
Yeah. And there will be a change, Councillor Jeffries.
Yeah,
Yeah, at some point there will be a change. And you would have read the media on Hamilton City, looking at introducing water meters to a sum of about $50 million or something. So yeah, the councils that don't have water meters currently are we're looking at a joint procurement process across the region. We have some up for renewal, and we've got budget provision for that, so we may join in with any sort of joint procurement as well. But yes, I think.
right, thank you. On the page 53, under the heading Water Quality Regulatory Framework, I was just interested in the last sentence in that first paragraph, which talks about the bill also includes other changes to reduce regulatory requirements and so on. And it goes on to say, which would not be covered by the shared domestic supply exclusion. What is that? What is a shared domestic supply exclusion? Is that, are we talking about water suppliers that have less than 25 people? Is that what they're referring to there? I just wasn't sure what that meant.
I'm thinking, this is my thinking phase. Through you, Worship. Mark, do you have an answer to that one?
From my perspective, councillor, with the 25 or less, when it's a domestic supply, if it is a marae or school, then that there works under a different regime to what domestic supply does. So it is the 25 or less, what my take. Is I'm wrong there, Mark?
Yeah, I think it's referring to some of the changes that are enacted or bill around the changes to those supply criteria, which the worship's just been referenced.
So it's going to be a different standard of filtration systems required from point of use as well. So if it comes down to a school for marae, that they'll have to be under a different regime. These are the recommendations going forward to what a domestic supply is.
Okay, thank you. I just wondered whether perhaps, thank you for that explanation, whether something could be added to the appendices or something which just explains what shared domestic supply means. That's all.
Through you, Worship. So this is a retrospective approval of a submission that's already sent. So how about we get clarification on that for you and email that out? Councillor Jeffries, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, it was. Oh, yeah, on page 60, the very last clause H. I found that quite interesting, and I thought that raised a very interesting issue in terms of redundancies and future employment for existing staff and so on. But I guess the question I had was that I thought it was a very good point that had been made, but what's to stop an employee taking redundancy and then taking up employment with any water organisation the day after?
There isn't.
There isn't?
No.
No.
Similarly, there's no, I mean, we could reorganise here
Yep.
and have redundancies, and someone could go down to Waitomo and get a job the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so same sort of thing.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make that point that there is potentially, anyway, potentially a liability for us in that area. Yep. And just on page 62, under general comments, item 8, it's just talking about the taxation status of any future water services CCOs. Are we talking, will CCOs be subject to income tax as well as GST? And if so, will that put pressure on pricing in order to achieve any agreed annual returns?
That's a question I definitely can't answer, but I'm wondering if Graham or Sinead might have that answer.
Don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to get back to you on that. Someone making notes, questions that we need to get back.
Okay.
Councillor Jeffries on.
Thank you. Bottom of page 64, I think there's part of that last sentence missing. I just thought I'd mention that. It says including the Waikato River, unless it's supposed to be a full stop there.
Supposed to be a full stop there.
Okay, that's fine. And then moving on to page 73. And section, number 10, the very last section there, section 28, how consultation is carried out. I know I've asked this question before, but I'm still not certain what the answer is. So firstly, what debt do we currently have with our water and wastewater accounts? That's the first question. And then secondly, if that debt doesn't transfer to a water organisation, councils will still have to levy a rate to cover loan interest and repayments resulting in the consumer receiving two water accounts, one for the provision of potable water by the water organisation and the other from council to recover debt. Is that the case?
That's not my understanding, but
Yeah. I don't answer that, councillor, around the debt transfers.
Because I understand that in the previous 3 waters, the debt was going to go to the entity, but as I understand it, our debt now stays with us. Is that the
I think
story?
we could ask for, Vaughan that later on when he presents to us.
Okay.
In the workshop.
No, that's all that I had. Thank you. No, your worship.
Thank you, councillor Jeffries. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, your worship. Just going back to page 3 under the water quality regulatory framework. Admittedly, I've missed previous workshops on some of this, so I'm sure it's been discussed about the stormwater, so it says that it can continue to deliver stormwater services directly in-house. If that's the case, they're only transferring two waters over to CCO. How is the stormwater levied ratepayers? Is it or calculated for costs and those sorts of stuff?
Yep, so we're still working through the implications of transferring stormwater or keeping it in-house under the Waikato Water Done Well model. It's 2 waters with the provision for like a service level agreement with the water entity that councils could discuss later on. In terms of the rating, so currently stormwater is
For the most part, it's just part of the general rate. I mean, it's wrapped up in roading and a number of areas, but yeah, under a general rate or target rate. So we do that separately to our other water services anyway.
because we can't sheet home the costs to any particular individual like we can with connections.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I was just a clarification. I wasn't sure how it was done, so that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor. Right before us, we have a staff recommendation that Ōtorohanga District Council 3.1 receives a report joint submission on local waters done well, Bill number 3, document number 807131 of the joint submission for the participating Waikato Waters Done Well participating councils. Document number 807130 3.2 is ratify the approval of the joint submission on behalf of the Council of Chief Executive following consultation with the Mayor. 3.3, note the overview of Bill number 3 is set out in Appendix 1 of this report. I'd like to move that. Seconded. Councillor Williams. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Moving on to page 80. Item 211, local waters done well, options analysis process. Welcome, Mark. And Dan.
Good morning, everybody. Just obviously welcome Anne to council today. She's been helping us with local water done well. Today we'll have a report in front of you just confirming our process of how we're going to evaluate any future water delivery options. I'm going to take the report as read, but I'll just confirm that obviously we want to adopt the 3-step process, which you all workshopped earlier in the month. Confirm the objectives which are outlined in Appendix 1, the critical success factors which are outlined in Appendix 2, and to confirm the weightings that we're going to apply to the criterion, which is as part of the recommendation there. Happy to take any questions.
questions, councillors? See, there's a bit of movement on the weightings here, but it wasn't too substantial. I can't think back to what they exactly were, but helpful.
Yeah, I think we had
Your
moved
mic,
on.
microphone, please.
That's right, I forgot. So the weightings moved just 1 or 2% basically, and particularly probably for financial sustainability and maintaining viability. So that would be where the greatest movement was.
Thank you, Anne. Any questions, councillors? Awesome. So we have a staff recommendation here. 3.1, that Ōtorohanga District Council received the report local waters done well option analysis process, document number 807066, and confirm A, the objectives for water services outlined in Appendix 1, B, the critical success factors evaluation criteria in Appendix 2, and following weightings for each criterion as listed. Moved Councillor Jeffries, second Councillor Prendergast, all in favour? Against? Carried. Too easy, Mark. Moving on to page 89, the agenda. Local Waters Done Well Communication and Engagement Plan. Welcome, Nadia, and again to you, Anne.
E te kurumātua me ngā kaikanihira, tēnā koutou katoa, and again, thank you, Anne, who's supporting also in the comm space with local water done well. This report is to present the proposed communication and engagement plan, responding to still local water done well, and seeks confirmation on your expectations regarding consultation and public engagement. Proposed is a consultation period of 1 month, allowing for extensions if you wish, and hearings allowing submitters to speak to their submissions. Not explicit in the plan, but probably worth mentioning, is the regional communication support that we're part of to ensure consistent messaging on quite a complex issue. So you'll see some joint sort of messaging coming out that helps to explain local water done well. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Thanks, Nadia. Yesterday we had a mayoral meeting with the Waikato Mayors and Waikato Waters Done Well, and we asked the question, are there any other councillors that are any other councils going to hold public meetings? And immediately they'll be going, not a chance, we wouldn't go there, why would we do that? It's just a lynch mob that's going to come out to get us, which Tony and I talked about that afterwards. And personally, I have no issue leading public meetings. And the reason why I have no issue is because this legislation has been put on us. And what we're trying to do is share the story as to why it is happening and get people to get a clearer understanding of Waikato Waters Done Well or local waters done well. So I'm a bit uncertain as to why the other councils had such a hostile feel about public meetings, whether they've been bitten too many times. But again, it's not us that is leading the whole process here. We're just trying to share the information. Do councillors have any thoughts on that?
My thought is the one information that we're going to need to know, I don't know if we can get it, is how much it's going to cost each option. That's going to be a burning question in a ratepayer's mind. They know exactly what it costs for their water at the moment. What's it going to cost under the new system? And I don't know if they can answer that question. Or we need that information. And the other thing I was thinking about the public meetings is it's all good and well, but as you know, sometimes I have a different view to other people. So we're going to have like a, this is my view, this is your view sort of thing. Well, what we need to do as a council.
Going to be presenting a united front.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. We need to be sorted out our own minds, and for me, I need to have that information about what it costs. We already know what it costs in different areas, because I pay bills in different areas for water. So Waikato Water Done Well is going to have to really nut down what it's going to cost.
So both models, through you worship, both models will need to nut down because nothing's going to be the same.
Yeah, no, I
We've been
understand
saying that. So the cost of our water now will not be the same, even if we keep it in-house. because of the regulatory and the economic, the environmental and the economic regulation. Already, we know we're going to pay fees to those regulators, so already the cost of water will go up. And so the financial modelling is kind of the last step in the process, and it's the one that we're all waiting with bated breath on, I know that. So yeah, and you'll have the workshop this afternoon with the two, about the two models, and be able to put those kind of, those questions here. So we know you need to go out with that information. Yep.
Well, you're absolutely correct. You can't sell a story either way without the figures behind it, not a chance. And I don't think we'll ever go and try and do that yet. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Your Worship. The other issue apart from the cost is that where there might be reluctance to go public too, and it might be a reason why we should, is that we're not like we're rural and not provincial or urban, where we've only got roughly 30% of our population that are going to be affected by the new regime, and so it's an opportunity for perhaps some clarity for those people who generally out in areas that are not connected, how it is or is not going to affect them. And yeah, not that we're going to say, well, it's your problem, not mine, but to get clarity for people who might think that their rates are going to change when their circumstances are not necessarily going to change, although other aspects of water legislation and Mata Arawai will maybe affect them.
Councillor Jeffries.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I think speaking in support of Councillor Dow and certainly Councillor Williams, as I understand it, the costs and so on are going to be ring fenced for up to 5 years. Is that correct? So, I mean, we know that costs are going to go up simply because of the other things, but so I think probably one of the things that needs to be emphasised when we do consult is that we're not subsidising any other authority, that we're keeping our own funding amongst ourselves, at least for the first 5 years.
Yeah, through Your Worship. So Vaughan will be able to answer those questions this afternoon. If we proceed to stage 2, which it's unlikely any council are going to go to stage 1 now. Most will go in boots and all because the extra costs associated with a transition through stage 1 will actually impact negatively on the councils. So at the start we thought it might be a nice way to do things, but actually now that we've looked more into it, it actually we think is going to be more costly to not go straight to stage 2. And in going to stage 2, then we are buying into a collaborative model, a true collaborative model, where we get propped up and we also prop other people up. That's the nature of a collaborative model. Yeah.
And just one further question, if I may. Clause 5.4, where it talks about impacts on Māori. It says that iwi leaders from Raukawa and Ngāti Maniapoto have joined with other iwi leaders. Included in the other iwi leaders, I assume would be Waikato Tainui. Would that be correct? Is that right? Good. Thank you. That's all I needed to know.
Well, thank you. Yeah, look, I think probably what we're saying here is still a heck of a lot of unanswered questions until we get their pricing. We're working through things at the moment. Staff have been across all councils, been under a lot of pressure to get all this in front of us, and those incredibly tight regulatory time frames that has been set down by government. So yeah, it just seems to be a bit of a delay. We'd all like to have more information at the table in front of us, but we don't. So yeah, thanks to the staff who've done a heck of a lot of work to get to where we are right now, and thank you, Anne, for the support of those staff. Any further questions, councillors? If not, we have the staff recommendations in front of us. That Ōtorohanga District Council endorse the local water staff well communication and engagement plan dated February 2025, document number 805826, noting that A, the alternative consultation mechanisms provided for in section 61 to 64 of the local government Water Services Preliminary Arrangements Act 2024 will be applied. B, engagement with the community will be led by the mayor and elected members using the tactics outlined in the communication and engagement plan. C, consultation will adhere to the principles of consultation as per the Local Government Act 2002, Section 82. D, consultation will be for a period of 1 month from notification of council's decision on its preferred option for the delivery of water services. And E, the public will be given the opportunity to present their views to council in person at a hearing. I'd like to move that. Seconded, Councillor Williams. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors.
Moving on to page 100, item 213, elections 2025, order of candidate names and voting papers. Imagine that has to be grown. Welcome, Graham.
Thanks, Your Worship. This is a pretty straightforward report. We're required an election year to adopt a method of on the voting forms of candidate information, whether that be in alphabetical order, pseudo-random, or random. The descriptions are in the report of the different three. The last two elections, we have adopted random. If we don't have a council resolution, it defaults to alphabetical. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Graham. Councillor Jeffries.
Just one question, Your Worship. Thanks, Graham, for the report. It's very good. Yeah, under 6.1 C, can you just clarify for me the order of candidates determined randomly at the time each voting paper is printed? So if you're printing, I don't know, let's just say 5,000 papers, does every one of those change? Every single one changes.
Yeah, and they have the software to do that. It's different to pseudo-random where they draw them at lot, and then they're random, but they're the same all the way through. So
Right.
it's true random.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess it's never been a real issue for us because we don't have multiple candidates like some of the big councils do.
Yep.
There is some evidence that when it's alphabetical, that it favours those at the start of the alphabet, like start B. Yes.
Thank you, Graham. I did prefer the alphabetical option. Yes. Any further questions, councillors? If not, we have a staff recommendation here that Ōtorohanga District Council resolve in accordance with Section 31 of the Local Electoral Regulations 2001 that for the next 3 years, including the 2025 local body election and any by-election within that time, if required, the names of the candidates are arranged in random order. We have Councillor Hughes, second, and Councillor Jeffries. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Graham. Moving on to page 105. Item 214, regulatory and growth activity, the 6 monthly update. You.
Atamaria Koto, councillors, so we have the 18 here in case there's any questions. Happy to take the report as read, it's quite comprehensive, there's quite a bit of information out, so rather than take you through it, if you're happy to do that, take it as read, and we're open to any questions.
Well, I think it's a very thorough report. It's a little difficult to find a question, to be honest. No, well done, guys. Very good.
Exactly.
No, that's it.
Councillor Christensen.
I think I was just trying to find it. The sludge, how much has it been in the past? Like, because it's,
Page, please, councillor.
128, but I can't go to 128 at the same time, so it should.
Believe that might be the next report.
Oh, okay. Lucky you. Ignore that.
Yes. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Worship. No, I just comment of, it's good to see the shared service of the animal control's working so well. So, has there been any uplift in sort of seizures of dogs still, or going along with that, probably complaints as well. So it's usually the way it works. But it seems to be working okay. But is there an issue? Any issues with that?
No, it's working really well. And we've got benefit now, rather than having one animal control, so we've got effectively a team of 3. Actually, this morning there's a seized dog, and there's a gentleman who I may need to be called out to assist him in wanting to recover his dog, which we have seized. So we're getting those sort of things, and the team is working really, really well. They've got a really good community engagement approach, but still very firm and fair in terms of their approach. And in fact, I'm getting reports that some of the people who we had difficulties with in the past are now sort of advocating for the team we've got, be nice to them because they're here to help you. So it's working very well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor. Thanks, Tony. Yeah, again, just to reiterate what councillor Jeffrey said, a really good, thorough report. Appreciate it, team. And Tony, if you could actually pass that message from councillor Hughes onto the animal control team. Look, I've had some interactions with them. They've been really helpful. They've been thorough. They've got back to me with the information that I required. So it's really appreciated.
Good, thank you.
We have the staff recommendation here that the Ōtorohanga District Council received the report titled Regulatory Growth Activity 6-monthly update, document number 805761. We have a mover and a seconder. Move councillor Dow, second councillor Wilson. All in favour? Against? Carried. Nice. Yeah. Right. Page 122. Item 215, Water Services Report to 25th of February. Kumar and Mark. Welcome, guys.
Good morning again. Just as by way of quick introduction, I'm not sure if everyone has met Kumar, our water manager. It's his first time presenting today. It's the first time we've had a Water's quarterly report in some time. So yeah, so I'll hand over to Kumar now.
Good morning. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, this is my first council meeting. So I take the report is read, the service report. So, but I would like to highlight some key points in that summary. In terms of water compliance, the drinking water compliance is pretty good. But we need to make some changes around the Tiharua and Kafia treatment plant rules to become fully compliant. And we have taken a number of renewals and maintenance around the wastewater treatment plants. That is to improve the discharge compliance. We already, sorry. We have already seen some changes around the treatment. We would like to see some improvements in the coming months, and I would like to see better quality water discharge and better compliance with the coming concern year. And around the service request responses, we need to have some more clarity around the input to capture the responses and resolutions more effectively. But we have done some work to improve the data quality, and I expect to see the results improving, and I'll be reporting that in the next report. And the Three Waters operation and maintenance remains very good, with focus on renewals of the aging assets. This is a recent development around the communication control system for the entire plants and the networks and pump stations. We need to have some upgrades. The reason being that because of the age, and we are seeing some diminishing support. So we're going to have some upgrades around that. So that will be done within the budgets that we already allocated. So that will be done in a stage approach as well. This is the infrastructure we need to have for the compliance monitoring purposes. And we are in the process of recruiting a new team leader. We have already gone through a number of interviews, and we are very close, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we will be able to get someone on board. And the team leader will be the interface between the operation team on the ground and also the management. One more last keynote in that, which is not in the report. This is a new development for me. In fact, that is for us as well, for all of us, even for Mark. We have done a condition assessment around our weir downstream of the Ōtorohanga plant intake, which is a sheet pile effectively. We have seen some deterioration in the condition. That means we need to do some renewals in that space. So those are the key aspects of the report. I'm more than happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kumar. Wonderful, thorough report. One question: when you've got moderate non-compliance, what is the is, you know, obviously you've got non-compliance, moderate non-compliance, or compliant, I'd imagine. Is there 3 stages, or does it vary quite a bit? And where does the auditing take place on the varying levels? If that makes sense as a question.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of like a scale of compliance, and you have a partial non-compliance, low level non-compliance, and moderate. So the one that we're looking at is the stormwater and Ōtorohanga. So we're currently in the transition between the new consents and the old consents. So what they've highlighted there is probably just some real simple management sort of areas that we haven't got onto, just around the cleaning of the stormwater cesspits, things like that. So it's a moderate non-compliance is not a great concern. It's just some actions come out of it. That makes sense, Your Worship. So, but with our consents, as we sort of transition to the new consents, those conditions are going to get a little bit harder and a bit tighter on us. So,
do those, when they're coming to see with the particular parameters are compliant or not, is that is their visits announced, or they come unannounced? Or I'm probably making a comparison to a shed inspection. We know when someone's going to come to a shed inspection at the cow shed, and Annette's out there and she's scrubbing the walls and to ensure that the shed's up to spec. Is it the same for council?
No, so I mean they can do inspections if they please, but it's all generally generated from our reporting. So we have to do sampling of the stormwater. I think it's twice, 3 times a year, I think. Twice. And then we generate annual reports on the consent conditions. So the information that probably leads to our partial or moderate non-compliance is information we're supplying. So there's a raft of parameters we test.
It's a question that, I think councillor Christian was going to ask, she's back in the room. So, 4.38, talk about the sludge, which was what council was going to ask. How far through the process, there's a lot of sludge obviously to be removed there. How far through that process, and with the removal of the sludge, is the aroma increase from the ponds, or is it still stay pretty?
Yeah. So we have removed so far about 7,000 cubic meter of sludge. So that's what I said. That is part of the renewal program for us. So we have completed the process of removing the sludge, so that we expect to see some better treatment performance. That means that we will have some better quality water coming out from the pond and going to the river as well. Yeah.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Richard. Just a question around of consents as far as water take is concerned for the water treatment plant. So that, I presume we have limits. What happens, like the current period with the dry weather? Are we getting near those limits, or are we pretty good? Is it generous? Is it based off of river flow, or is it based off river levels?
Yeah, so I suppose probably the way to look at that is regional council will issue low flow restrictions. So, but sitting within each of our consents are the levels that we have to watch. And it's interesting because we had a big meeting about this yesterday, because we're definitely aware of the low rivers. So we are still, it's generally based on depending where your surface take is. So for Ōtorohanga, for example, it's based on the State Highway 31 sensor on the bridge out here. So as soon as we reach a certain level of flow, which I think is about 4.3 cubic meters a second, our low flow limits kick in. We're currently sitting, and don't quote me on this exact number, but it's about 4.8. So we've still got a little bit of room there. And then once those low flows kick in, it basically puts a restriction on us about how much water we can take on average over a 2-day period, depending on how the consent's written up. For some of our rural schemes, they run off the Taupo, Lake Taupo gates level. So it depends where the catchment is for the actual water take. But overall, I think we are still sitting above the low flow.
That can change very quickly though, can't it? River flows can be, over a period of a couple of days, can drop quite significantly. So it's once we hit that threshold, well, we're never not going to be able to take water. It's just that we'll be restricted to how much we can take. So there's a process, I presume, around forming water restrictions within town and those sorts of things, I presume.
So when we think we're going to get close to it, we would look to, I suppose, make a decision around whether we need to bring in restrictions. So currently our Ōtorohanga plant is not drawing anywhere near what its consent limits are. So there's quite a lot of redundancy in there. But yeah, it's something we're constantly watching. And the river, believe it or not, is probably set quite consistent at one height, but it's not far off some of those real low levels that we've seen in the past.
Yeah. So the actual quality of the water at the moment, even though the rivers are low, is the quality of water coming out of the river okay? You don't run into any treatment issues, or you have to change processes within the treatment due to low river levels?
We haven't seen any issues with the Ōtorohanga plant, or TRY is fine as well. But we normally see issues with the rural areas, especially Hauraku and Urimau. We have take issues. But generally speaking, in our town plants, the water quality is pretty good still.
Awesome. Okay. And the other, just the other concern is obviously when we get to those low river levels is the smell and the taste. So that's, we introduced carbon treatment several years ago, which has taken care of that. So that's probably the most concern, I think, when you start getting out to real low levels.
How often do you do flushing, blind flushing, or throughout the years? Is there a set program for that?
There is a program. I'm not sure exactly what turnaround, I think it's twice a year.
Yeah, that's probably twice a year. Oh, you do some,
So you would sort of restrict doing that if, currently at the moment with the way the scarcity of water, for want of a better word, would be, because you can cause probably issues if you're doing flushing with low levels of treatment, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's the overall strategy is to make sure we look after that resource. So whenever we think we're going to need to do something like that, we do take that into consideration, because we don't want to put ourselves under undue pressure. Yeah.
And also, sorry to add on that, and also every time I do the maintenance on the network as well, we flash a light too.
Well, thank you.
Councillor Christensen?
I'm on the right report now. On that 4.38, the sludge, is it normal that we desludge every 3 years? Like that's quite a big amount, because it's obviously it's a bigger amount than normal because we haven't factored those costs in, because it's going to increase our costs. So is it something we should be doing more regularly? And how much is it going to increase our operational costs? Is it like budgeted or unbudgeted?
So which did you say 4.3? Sorry, councillor.
4.38, the sludge.
Yeah, so there's probably two things we're talking about there. The normal desludging is the actual process of removing it from the ponds.
Mhm.
The comment in there, I think what we're referring to is the disposal of the sludge, which is something we haven't been able to sort at this point, because we used to dispose of it to land. So we're no longer disposing it to land. So what we need to do is come up with a solution to get it through to disposal at landfills.
Oh, okay, so it's quite normal to do it every 3 years and have 14,000 cubes coming off.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, the stuff, most of the sort of organic waste that goes in there we can treat through the process, but it's the non-organic stuff that we have.
Dry it and bag it and sell it. Just like New Plymouth. Yeah, New Plymouth will. Yeah, and the other question was just a curiosity. How much water were we losing at Kawhia for us not to have water restrictions now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, so we don't have a water restriction. The two reasons: one is that with the work that we've done last year, a lot of renewals or leaks significantly gone down. And I would say the improvements we made around the plant as well, the reliability of the plant's gone up. So we don't see any disruptions or interruptions on the water production. That is another reason. So I think the reservoir level is pretty good. It's remaining about 90%, throughout the whole summer period. So
yeah, which is a first.
And I'd just like to note that a lot of those leaks were private leaks, which were detected through the leak detection, and without the water meters, we would never have known.
Yeah, just like when we put them in town here, we found lots. Yeah, awesome.
So it's good decision.
Councillor Prendergast?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just thank you to Mark and the team for the consultation we've been doing with our Armenian community as we walk through the process to taking our water schemes through to be non-potable. I think people are feeling supported and pretty calm about it. And of course, the biggest challenge is just getting the understanding of everyone who will be involved with everything. So thank you.
Councillor Jeffries?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, Mark and Kumar, welcome. Yep. Yeah, just in relation to 4.3, you talked about Kawhia and Te Aroha treatment rules need to be changed. So what you're saying there is that neither of those plants at the moment are compliant, fully compliant. So at what stage, picking up on His Worship's comments about, is it fully part, whatever, what stage they are at in terms of compliance? And the second part of that was, are you saying that to get them up to full compliance, we've got budgets that cover that?
Yes, so two different things there. So one is the question the worship raised around stormwater consents was a compliance with the resource consent. The compliance we're talking about here is with the drinking water quality assurance rules and what treatment levels we have to reach since we changed from drinking water standards to quality assurance rules. So what one of the I suppose really good things about quality assurance is that you can choose to do further treatment to meet compliance. So what we're looking at here is if they sit currently at what we call an S2, T2, D2, they can't reach the level of compliance. And that doesn't mean that there's any problems with this water. This water is perfectly all right. But what it means is for us to reach full compliance, we have to lift the treatment to a T3, which allows us to do that within the quality assurance rules. And that's all around some more monitoring of the water. So, yeah, and we're working through that with Te Mara Arawai. They're aware that we'll be doing this, but Kumar and his team are just trialling the process before we decide to update.
Could I, thank you, Mark. No, that covers that nicely, thanks. Just a request, if you like, in terms of what's happening at the Kawhia treatment. Will there be a report going to the community board at any stage on what's happening out there with their water treatment? I think probably it's all very well bringing this to the council, but I think the community board would be very interested in knowing what's happening at its own treatment plant. So even if you just set it out a one page or something, know what's going on, that'll be good.
Council, any further questions? Okay, I have a staff recommendation in front of me, and Kumar, if I get this wrong, I apologise, but I'm going to give it a crack, okay? Staff recommendation is that the Ōtorohanga District Council received a report titled Water Services Report to 25th February 2025, document number 80652 from Kumar Sivaratnam.
That's right.
Woohoo! Manager reports. I'd like to move that. Second to Councillor Dow. All in favour? Carried. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Moving on to page 129, item 216, finance report to 31 January 2025. Brendan. And Brad.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'm here with the finance report to the end of January. This is the first finance report since the end of October last year because we didn't do one in the December meeting because it was so close to the end of November. And then obviously it's the first meeting of this financial year. Calendar year, sorry, not financial. So just going through the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses. So we've got a surplus to the end of January of 5.3 million compared to 5.1 year-to-date budget. A lot of the revenue relates to budgets and subsidies and grants, and our other income, which is offset slightly by our water being below budget. The subsidies was due to the fact that the weather was good for Christmas, and actually in January, so they were able to complete a lot more of the operational roading work, and so we were able to claim that money from UTTA. When the original budgets were done, it was sort of based on the last few years, and so obviously if the weather is better at certain times compared to previous years, you can move stuff forward and back. So timing on subsidies and grants will always be a bit weird in terms of budgets because it's very independent. In terms of the expenses, we're over budget by about $270,000, of which other expenses are under and employee benefit expenses are under, but then our depreciation and finance costs are over. The depreciation being over is due in part to the revaluation we did at the end of last year of our land and buildings. There's a significant increase in the value of some of those buildings, and there was also some changes based on what Quotable Value, who did the valuation, came up with as to the remaining life of those assets. That increased your depreciation as well. To reduce the remaining life, you've got to increase how much you're depreciating each year to get down to zero value. Not that it ever hits a zero because you do a revaluation every 3 years, but it's
Lynn, can I just interrupt there? In
Yeah.
terms of, depreciation being over budget by over $500,000.
Yeah.
How much, like, obviously, you're forecasting what you believe values are gonna be, is it just under forecasting?
Yeah, so when we do the forecasts, particularly through LTPs and stuff, it's usually based on bill. So bill has their inflation adjusted to what they think inflation is going to be. We've obviously just had for the last 2 or 3 years, I guess, a period of large inflation. So when we've done the budgets initially for this year, which was based on the old stuff, that inflation wasn't really factored in, so we didn't think there would be such an increase in the value of assets. And so, yeah.
And does that lead to further discussion or different methodology used in the future? Because I mean, that's a significant amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah, the methodology for valuing land and buildings is kind of set. It's a bit difficult to change it. What we can do and what we've done in the past when we've had significant increases in depreciation costs is that whatever is over and above the budget, we don't fund that extra depreciation in the first year. We budget for it. So part of the annual plan now, taking these new updated figures and budgeting to increase the funding, taking into account the fact that we've not funding more depreciation as part of the long-term plan this time. So yeah, so for this year, it's not going to have any impact on, it's not going to substantially eat into our reserves or anything, but if we don't fund that depreciation over and above what we budgeted to fund, which we can do, not in the past. And then yeah, going forward, we'll back to that into increases so that we're funding it going forward.
Thank you.
And just for those other expenses, so yeah, so the employee benefit expenses was under budget due to a couple of vacancies. It was brought up by the chief executive about how it's only 150 grand, but we know we're holding a couple of vacancies. Why is this a bit weird? I guess part of the thing to point out there is that within that employee benefit expenses, there's also holiday pay accruals. So when we get to the balance sheet, you'll see there's employee benefit expenses budget of 300,000. So we've got 300,000 also being holiday accruals as well. So when you budget your salaries for the year, you're budgeting for 52 weeks of paying someone their salary. But when you have leave for previous years they haven't used, it gets added onto that. So you actually look like you're over budget, but in actual fact you're not. Yeah. Or slightly under budget. Yeah. And then our finance costs are over budget because of the interest accrual from last year being reversed and no interest being paid as at this point. In terms of the balance sheet, statement of financial position, so we're in a healthy position there. 7.1 million of working capital. The bulk of that you will actually notice is in the trade and other receivables. That's because obviously the second instalment went out at the beginning early in January and it's not due till this Friday. So yeah, so we should see at the end of February or February next month that trade and other receivables will probably drop substantially, but our cash should in theory go up. So you'll see a bit of a change there. Our borrowings, so it currently sits at $12.4 million, which is up on what we presented in October by $2 million. There was due to some short-term borrowings we took for cash flow purposes. So because some of the roading work was brought forward, it was very tight as to whether we would make it through to the rates coming in with the cash that we had on hand. It turned out after the fact that we did actually have enough cash on hand because we had some other money come in that we had been expecting to come in, but weren't expecting when it came in, expecting it to come in a bit later. So we actually possibly could have got away without borrowing the money, but it's just the way it is. We did it on short term over 3 months. Yeah, so it's repayable in March, and that was just to get us through to the rates and should be able to repay that quite easily. The cost of service statements this year, taking that expenditure really and grouping it by the different groups of activities we have in the new LTP. So overall, most of the under budget there in the revenue is to do with the other general sources, which is the internal charging. So because it's just a timing thing as to when staff charge time to various places and how it all flows through. Excuse me. And the expenditure being under budget is a combination of the reduced charging from staff as well as other savings across the board. capital wise, so we're under budget by 1.8. Most of that's around the renewals because while more maintenance work was able to be brought forward, a lot of the capital stuff hasn't sort of started until late January, early February. So we have them now. We've seen driving around the district. And then the cash flows and the debt profile on the last page. So cash flows, we've got about $355,000 less in the bank than we started the year with at the end of January, which is pretty good. See, we've got about 2.5 million in from operating, but then we've paid about $6 million of cash in terms of investing, which is mostly capital works and borrowings from the 3 million that we've borrowed so far. And then as we discussed, the debt profile at the bottom there, so you can see that top loan, the 2 million for 3 months that is due on the 18th of March. And then we've got the 6 million, which we mentioned previously, we took for a short term, 6 months. That's also due on the 14th of March. So we're hoping that we'll do some projected cash flows, obviously, before we get to that point, to be able to fully repay the 2 million for the 3 months and some of that 6 million as well.
That's, if you're renewing that 6-month one, March, you'd expect that to drop probably another 0.5% going for those years.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the latest, what the latest thing from the LDFA in terms of rates are, but yeah, we'd definitely be lower than that maintenance currently at. Yeah, so I guess the one other thing to point out is I mentioned up under the balance sheet it's $12.4 million of debt. When you add those numbers up, it's only 12. It's came out yesterday. The other 400,000 is the suspensory loan that we have for the pensioner housing that we've had for nearly 20 years now. So I don't record that because it's at a 0 interest rate. It's also due to be forgiven in the next year or two. So yeah.
Thank you, Brendan. Questions, councillors? Mr. Jeffries.
Oh, thanks, Your Worship. Yes, you covered my question on interest rates. I think the Reserve Bank, the OCR is down to 3.75, so one would expect to see a reduction in those rates. Going forward, the other two, the one that's September and April of next year, there's no chance of refinancing those, I suppose, at the lower rate, or is there penalties involved?
Yeah, probably. I haven't actually looked about that, but I would assume there's some penalties because they are fixed term.
We sort of spread the risk, Councillor Jeffries, when we put this, when we raise those lines, I mean, it's always hard to predict what's going to happen in terms of, so we went relatively short, set it maybe like 5 or 6 years, locking it in, just because we didn't have that certainty, but yeah, we'll certainly.
Is it worth asking the question?
Yeah, no, the break rates on it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. The only other question I had, Brendan, was just go back to the P&L.
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, on page 130 is the revenue expenses. Oh, it's just a question around the water billing. So when's billing for water meters due? Because your actual at 31 January is only 41% of your annual budget, and you've only got 5 months left in this financial year. So are we looking at a potential problem with arrears, or are you comfortable with what we're achieving at the moment?
No. So in terms of January billing, it's about half the billing will be done. So for town, there's 4 billings a year, which is end of September, end of December, end of March, end of June. So there's only been 2 billings to date, by the end of January. And then for the rurals, there's 2 billings for them and for Carrefour as well. That's in May and November, so there's only 1 billing for each of those. So we're only about half of them. It's slightly less than half, and I guess the thing there is when you think about the rural, particularly, billing in November for the previous 6 months, so that's the wet season, so they're probably not using as much water. The May bills usually find us higher than the November bills for the rural schemes because they use more water in the summer, obviously. So while it's at 45%, you'd expect it to cut a lot closer to 100%.
No, that's fine, thank you. And just a general question, in terms of arrears, rate arrears generally, with the increases we've had in current year rate increases.
Yep.
Has there been any noticeable increase in, rate arrears?
Not a substantial increase, no, it's probably in line with, you know, those that don't really pay, say, not paying a high percentage.
Right.
There hasn't been a substantial increase in the number of people not paying or anything, it's just a slight increase in the amount not being paid by the same usual suspects.
Yep. Well, you'll have a report coming through the RAS.
Yes, yeah, actually, have one to risk assurance.
Yeah, no, that's very good, thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any further questions? Sorry.
Thank you. Just a question, billing for the water.
Yep.
Go back to that. So you say the end of November for the previous six, so for the rural scheme.
Yes.
Why is it due date so far out from the end of November? So it's
Yeah.
due 28th of February. I know because next week, but this week. But yeah, so why is it such a big gap?
I guess it was done that way just to align it with when the rates are due. So it's due at the same date rather than multiple different dates. In terms of that, those dates are actually set by you as part of the annual plan, long-term plan.
Yeah.
So if you wanted us to move that back a month and do it at the end of, say, January, so it's a 2-month period or whatever, we can do that.
I'm not necessarily worried about it. I was just curious as to why it was such a, you know, normally if you buy something in January, you build by the 20th of February sort of thing, but
Yeah, no, it's just been, it was just to align with the other rates dates, it just made more sense about it.
yeah, thanks, Brad.
Thank you, councillors. Yeah, thanks, Brendan. Another good financial space there. So moving on, we have the finance report, item 216. Recommendation is that the Ōtorohanga District Council receive the report titled Finance Report for the month ending 31 January 2025, document number 805197 from Brendan McKinnon, Finance Manager with Councillor Jeffries, Secretary Councillor Christensen, all in favour? Yes, carried. Thank you. Thanks, councillor. Thank you. Moving on to councillor updates. Councillor Williams.
Thank you. A welcome break in January and then back into it in February, but obviously mostly workshops and same things that you were attending, LGNZ, CEO's committee. In the rural water, the mural forum, yeah, it was quite inspiring to see the cyclists come into town. They move from one Tamatatini to the next, so next time they will start from New Plymouth and go down to Nelson. Yeah. I met with Tanya, the CEO, with the Regional Public Service Commissioner, and yesterday a joint committee workshop with the Waikato Civil Defence Emergency Management Group Planning.
Thank you. Councillor Christensen.
Just the usual, the community board didn't have a meeting last month, so we had a walk around, which was quite cool, just looking at things around town that might need doing. And then I've had a couple of Elevate meetings, obviously the workshop, but I just wanted to point out on Sunday, I didn't actually stop, but town was the busiest I've seen it. There were no car parks, and from the Weta to Paper Plus pedestrian, I had to stop 3 times before I got to go, drive over the pedestrian. Yeah, there was a gun show at the club, there was a car boot sale, there was a craft fair, and I think there was something else on. So yeah, something I'm going to talk to Elevate about. Maybe we can do something like that every 3 months or something. It can be a destination to go to on a Sunday. Yeah, that's me.
Thank you, councillor Dow.
It's been a while since our last council meeting, but yeah. So like last year I went to Elevate or Development Board's final meeting of the year. Helped ladies, guys get all the Christmas decorations out of Village Green. somehow they're in my shed. So I'm a storage person too now, but anyway, that's all right. Went to Roy's Fishing and Picnics, went to the rural water thing. The other thing I did do on in the break is a real good rest up and decided I'm gonna run from here, so that's my plan this year, so yeah. Cheers.
Congratulations. Councillor Hughes.
I'm not running for mayor. Oh, well. No, you've got no competition from me, Ronnie. Yeah, so just same as Katrina, we had a bit of a walk around downtown for for the community board meeting that wasn't. And the other thing was last Thursday, because the mayor wasn't available, wouldn't answer his phone, I was contacted by staff they're doing a piece on towns in the Waikato, and it was Ōtorohanga's turn. So that was an interesting chat with the reporter, and the inevitable questions about Tom Phillips came up, and so I had to sort of sit on the fence a bit about that. But and they put a photo of me in there, which basically got my resting bitch face on by the looks of it. But it was I didn't pose for that photograph. It was screenshotted off a council meeting live stream by the looks of it. So yeah, but I hopefully said all the right things, and it was good to sort of just a bit of exposure for the town. Although Tanya did point out that one of the photographs of the town from above didn't do us any justice, unfortunately. Yeah, I see my media friend over there agreeing. So, but yeah. Yeah, but it was good to get some recognition because it was on the Stuff National website. So hopefully, and it was positive, and the reporter was reasonably fair. So that's a bonus. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Get used to it. Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Worship. Yes. Yeah, going through very quickly. We had the 10th of December, we had the Ōtorohanga meeting and the Christmas function. 11th of December was our risk and insurance meeting, and that was followed by a housing and councils meeting, just to gauge appetite to expand on the current LTP commitments. 12th of December, we had the Carter School prize giving, and thank you, Max, and for attending those and making a presentation. It was very much appreciated. 13th of December was the Te Taio Kāwhia meeting, and we followed that by an unveiling of the statue in Jervois Street. Now, the statue was donated by Māori Women's Welfare League, and Ōtorohanga came along and did the karakia and spoke very, very well at that. And so if you're ever in Kāwhia, it's right next to the topo, the art gallery, where the butterfly garden used to be, and there's a very nice statue in there. 18th of December was the Water Services webinar, which I had a quick look at. 11th, and then we skipped January, come to February. 11th of February, Reserve Strategy and Management hearings here, ODC workshop and briefings. 13th of February, we had a public meeting at Kāwhia re the beach access, and that went extremely well, I thought. There was no one there against the introduction of an alternative access. So I think they all accepted the fact that because there's been so many vehicles getting stuck around by the lagoon area around there, that it's time that some positive action was taken. So I just can't remember what the outcome of that was, but I think council may have a part to play in that in terms of liaising with Tainui Kāwhia Incorporated about an easement for the land needed to provide that alternative access off Top French Grove. So watch the space. Zoom meeting on the 14th of February with the Rural Water Supply Committees. I poked my nose into that for a little while, which was very interesting. And the 20th of February and the 24th of February, we had two informal Kāwhia Community Board meetings re the 25-26 budgets, and as a result of that, I understand there's something coming into council, to you, Tanya, there, thanks whoever, about the board's recommendations or suggestions as to how they'd like to approach the budgets for this year and going forward. Just as a matter of information, the one-base contest they had out there was hugely successful. There were 42 marlin caught, but unfortunately some of those were desecrated, if that's the right word. Some of the fishermen just left the heads and the bodies and the frames left on the foreshore, which was just disgusting, really, and spoiled it for a lot of people, and a terrible waste of a good fish. The weekend before, they had a big contest and 109 boats went out over the bar, which I think is a record. And the problem there was that, as I understand it, is that a number of those boats were trying to get in at Raglan, and there was a 3-hour wait to put your boat in at Raglan. So they turned around and came down to Carfield. And so that was all very well and good, but it created some terrible parking problems for us out there, as you can imagine. So other than that, no, that was pretty much us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've attended the normal things this year with the catch up with Sam and Susan, which was particularly good. The workshop, 14th of February, rural water, which was a really good meeting here at Council. That evening we had the North King Country Development Trust AGM and a strategy session, just a refresh on where they're at and what next going forward. On the 19th of February there was the Ōtorohanga Water meeting, which, as I stated earlier, with Ōtorohanga moving to be non-potable, I think the community is feeling very well supported. The letter that Mark sent out was particularly well written, Mark, and I think most of the questions were answered with that before the meeting happened. So, which I think also may have reflected a little bit in perhaps not as many numbers as we would have liked, but everyone seems to be very calm about it and just wanting to sort of move through with the next stages, really. And that's really me. And yes, I will also be standing from here. So, yes.
Battle's on. Councillor Wilson, you standing from here?
Good question. You probably have an answer after I finish my report. Firstly, I must down to that how everyone has time to go to this week. Well done, everyone. I have no time, ever. I spent most of my time sitting on the pipe at funerals. But that's not an excuse. Well done, everyone who's able to get to council things. I think the last council opportunity I had to share with the committee was when we policy on naming significant places. It was December. Since then, I haven't had opportunity to sit on anything council-wise, but eavesdropping on meetings that kids been attending, Taya or Kafia, so on and so forth, they're being part of those discussions in the background, like when I was parking cars for that fishing competition. And on that note, the fishing competition was sent a really supportive letter to the marae, thanking them for sort of helping out the community and that. So we're looking forward to our next one, which is the Quota Club. They have one this weekend, so we'll be doing the same thing there. But that's a win-win. But yeah, that's it. Congratulations to the new candidates for me.
Thank you, Councillor. Awesome. Moving on to the resolutions, Register Tanya.
Hang on.
Sorry, apparently Councillor Johnson's up there in the sky. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I've been listening away here. The difficulty is I don't seem to have the video, but anyway, just having a nice holiday at the moment, but taking a day out to diligently partake in the council meetings. So I am here. So, but anyway, just similar things to what others have been doing. It was quite invigorating to meet Sam and Susan, and it's quite positive and great for the good to have the engagement. Straight after that was the CE review, which another part of that process which took part in. I've had a 2-day district licensing committee hearing in Tikawiti over the month, and attended the rural water meeting, which is also that's very motivating to to get down to the basics of supplying water to farmers. And just lastly, the Piston Festival took a fair bit of my time, but got lots of support and thanks from other people around the table, and also from people within the community. And the outcome was about $2,380 for St. John's. So anyway, that'll try to make that happen every second year, and looking forward to the Truck and Ute show around this time next year. But anyway, that's me.
Excellent. Thanks, Councillor. Tanya, over to you.
Hey, for you worship, so only a few resolutions on the register. The first one is around our waste contract, so we're recommending that stays on the resolution register until we've completed those negotiations. The next one, C315, is around the heads of agreement for Waikato Water Done Well. That's been signed, so it's recommended that be removed. The next one, C317, is around the grant to the Ōtorohanga Historical Society, and that has been provided. So further work's been done, including us bringing back some options through the annual planning process. So we recommend that be removed. C320 is around adopting the Te Ōtorohanga, the nest, as the logo for our organisation, and we're doing a slow rollout there. So recommended that come off. And C321 is around our submission to the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi Bill, which has been lodged. So we recommend that come off too.
Thank you, Tanya. So we have a staff recommendation here that Ōtorohanga District Council confirm the removal of resolution C351 and C321 from the register. Move and second for those, please.
Oh,
sorry, Councillor.
Sorry, before we do that, should it not go like C315 through to just C315 and 3? To me, reads you're only removing 2 resolutions. Is it weird?
Oh yeah, through to, yeah, 2C, 3 to 1. Yeah, so good. We'll make that change. It's good. Good spotting. Good spotting.
We have the recommendation there with the amendment. Moved Councillor Dow, seconded Councillor Hughes. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. Now, at this stage, I'd like to wave a fond farewell to all those on live stream and to our wonderful reporter. Hopefully those photos were good. And they weren't taken from too high above.